everybody, it is Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome back to another video over here on That's Comical, and if you're watching and it happens to be a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Well, we are officially wrapping up September of 2025 and looking to the final 3 months of 2025, and I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I am extremely excited for what the rest of this year is going to bring, but I'm also very terrified at how much money I'm going to be spending, because when I take a look at the totals in regards to how many books I'm going to be buying by the month in October, November, and December, my wallet is very, very, very terrified. And I'm personally very terrified because of the fact that I'm hoping that everything that I get is going to be worth my while, because we have the big DC All-In event starting in October with DC KO. It is a story that Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson have been toting. Everything that we have read since the All-In initiative began is bringing us to this very moment, and in this past month, I will say, to their credit, that some of the main stories in DC's All-In initiative have really culminated into where DC KO is going to go. And there's even a lot of stuff that's happening at Marvel in regards to events, but I'm not interested in them, guys. I've said this many times before, and the numbers show it. We take a look at how things went in December. As I was anticipating, the other conglomerate is finally getting back to where it's supposed to be, based on what I am reading and based on how much I'm enjoying what I'm reading from companies like Dynamite, Mad Cave Studios, Boom. I mean, I'm also going to say a huge thank you on behalf of the entire That's Comical staff here. We have been receiving messages from one of the hottest writers in comics now, and that is David Pepos, who is writing some of my favorite titles right now. He's been giving us opportunities to take a look at what's to come, so we've been very much up to speed on Speed Racer, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, and Space Ghost, and we are so grateful that he is seeing that we're praising him, because he deserves to get the kind of praise. More people should be reading those titles that I just mentioned. I mean, if you're not reading Space Ghost or Speed Racer, I don't know what to tell you, because these are incredibly good titles with wonderful, fun Saturday morning adventure-like stories. I highly recommend those two. And Captain Planet is a lot of fun, too. Very different from the original cartoon, but in a very good way. But we take a look at the numbers, and there was a total of 60 books. This is actually my highest non-event total, meaning back in May, we saw a very high number, and that's just because of the fact that I got a lot of free comic books from Free Comic Book Day. But 60 books in total without any events or any free books. This is a pretty big number, and I'm not even going to tell you what October's number is looking like right now. I'm having anticipations that it's going to change, but we will see. But outside of the other conglomerate, we got Image right behind them. No surprise there with the Energon universe and the Ghost Machine universe, followed by DC with the All-In initiative and Marvel trailing at a total of 8. We take a look at the percentages. 35% of my purchasing power went to the other conglomerate, followed by almost 27% over at Image, 25% over at DC, a nice round number there as well, and 13.33%. So let's take a look at that graph, everybody. It's pretty much cool. I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to see, because I've been saying a lot of negative things about Marvel, and I gotta be honest, rightfully so, because they're just not giving me personally things that I'm enjoying. And even the Ultimate Universe is starting to stagger a little bit. The last 2 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, I did not enjoy them at all. I really didn't. Too much talk, not enough action. I understand that Jonathan Hickman is good at what he does, but there better be a good payoff. With only 3 issues left, man, come on, you gotta give me something. So let's see how we fared in regards to my predictions for September of 2025. I went 50-50 again, with a little bit of a surprise, but I'm not going to let you know what that surprise is until we get there. So let's take a look at the comics that I thought were going to be my top picks, as well as what they ended up being. So for the first week of September of 2025, I was planning to give it to DC Comics Black Label, the conclusion of one of the better books that came out in 2025, and that is Ram V's Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma. This is issue number 6, the final issue in the 6-issue miniseries. This was a very deep, very thought-provoking story, and a very atmospheric story as well. That's what Ram V likes to do. And I definitely want to give this book a reread. It was not in my top 5 books of the year, but it definitely was in my top 20. It hovered in the middle of between 10 and 15, unfortunately, but that's just because there were so many great books that I enjoyed. But this one should get its credit. It really was a very good story, but the winner ended up going to Image Comics, Jeff Lemire's Phantom Road, number 15. This is the conclusion of the 3rd story arc. We're going to go on another hiatus, but this was such a great chapter in this saga. A nice backstory with a couple of answers given to us after just being thrown into this unbelievable and unusual world. Very excited to see when the hiatus is up what the 4th story arc is going to give us. For the 2nd week of September of 2025, it was correct for my predictions. I went back to DC Comics, Black Label, and I gave it to W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo's Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, issue number 2. You guys know I'm such a fan of W. Maxwell Prince. I love Ice Cream Man, and this is definitely within that realm. I mean, it's a little bit more on the lighthearted side, a little bit more funny, but definitely very weird, but overall just crazy, wacky fun. How good is that? Well, let's just say right now, with just 3 months left to go in 2025, this is my number 1 book of the year. It came out of nowhere. The story is going to wrap up before the end of 2025, so this could end up being my favorite book of the year. We will see. It's going to be a very stiff competition based on what my top 5 of this year so far are. For the 3rd week of September of 2025, I was going to go to another DC Black Label book. It was the return of the team of Dan Jurgens, Mike Perkins, and Mike Spicer with their continuation of one of my favorite books from recent years, and that was the Black Label Batman story, The Batman, The First Night. Obviously, we got the sequel now, the first of 3 books, The Batman, The Second Night, by the same creative team, giving us the same story arc in a couple of years forward. We saw some familiar characters come back, but with some new villains in the mix. And this was everything I was hoping it would be. It was so much fun. Loved the atmosphere. Loved the art. This is some of Mike Perkins' best work, and I'm really excited to see how the next 2 issues are going to be. But that wasn't my pick of the week. No. My pick of the week actually went to a book that was very much delayed at my local comic book store, and it was over at IDW. I got this book 2 weeks late. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue number 11 by Jason Aaron and art by Juan Ferreira. We're officially getting close to the end. This was actually the penultimate issue of Jason Aaron's TMNT run, and I very much was surprised and overjoyed that this Ninja Turtles arc was everything that I was hoping that it would be, especially considering the fact that I am a Turtles fan, didn't really read many Turtles comics up until I got back into comics, and now I'm really going back into the archives, looking at the Kevin Eastman work, as well as Peter Laird's solo work. Love The Last Ronin, but this was a phenomenal book. Very excited to see how this story and Jason Aaron's run is going to end, and that's really going to determine if I want to actually continue to read this book with the new staff that's going to be joining this book in December. And for the final week of September 2025, I was very excited to know that Robert Kirkman was going to be giving us a project that he had been touting to be one of his most anticipated to give his loyal readers, along with amazing artwork by David Finch, who is an artist that hasn't really been on the scene in quite some time. One of the first times I got introduced to David Finch was a Image title from the mid-90s called Ascension. A lot of people enjoyed that book at the beginning until the staff changed, but I had heard that Robert Kirkman was very excited to finally give us Skinbreaker number 1, saying that this was going to be a fantasy epic that was going to make grown men cry. So, did it make me cry? Believe it or not, it got me a little misty-eyed because it was a very heartfelt story. There was a lot of heart. But was this my number 1 pick? Somewhat. There was a tie. And that's simply because of the fact that there was another book that came out that week. It was the second issue of Escape by Rick Remender and art by Daniel Acuna over at Image Comics. I couldn't decide between the two because I loved these two issues so much. Escape number 1 was a game changer, and Escape number 2 took it higher. I did not anticipate such a heartfelt story, and that's pretty much why I had to give these two books my top choice for the week, because they both had so much atmosphere and so much heart to their stories. Each one so unique, but it left such an emotional feeling in my heart. I could not wait to pick up the next issue. So, Skinbreaker number 2, very excited for it. Escape number 3, extremely excited for it. So that was how September of 2025 went. How are things looking for October? Well, besides Halloween coming up, it is a 5-week new comic book month, so that gets me very, very excited. And that's also one of the main reasons why my numbers are so big. I am anticipating to pick up 74 books in the month of October. I've never seen a number that high in the last 5 years of me picking up new comic books. This is insane, but I am anticipating books to get pushed. I'm anticipating things to not show up in October. I'm anticipating delays at my comic shop, so we will see. But either way, it's going to be a very exciting one, but it's also going to be a very expensive one. Let's take a look at my predictions. For the first week of October of 2025, there's only one book I could have asked for it to be at the top prediction spot, and that, of course, is the return of one of the best Image Comics books, one of the best Ghost Machine books, if not the best. Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok are back with the start of the second arc of Rook Exodus, issue number 7, the first story arc. Let me just say, I didn't know that this was going to end up being one of the most touted books in the Ghost Machine universe. The first issue threw me into a universe. I had to really think about it, but by the time I got to issue number 6, I thought it was one of the most brilliant books I ever read. So knowing that it is finally back after so many months of waiting, I know that Jason Fabok had a couple of family things to tend to, but he is back. He wanted his artwork to be absolutely perfect, and I cannot wait to read this story again. For the second week of October of 2025, we're going over back to Image Comics and into the Energon universe with the highly anticipated Transformers issue number 25 with the brand new writing team of Robert Kirkman and art by Dan Mora. Even Jorge Corona and Mike Spicer are going to be on this specific book because we are transitioning to a new team of Kirkman and Mora and a brand new story arc to enjoy. The first 24 issues were top-notch. Daniel Warren Johnson gave us a winner. This book was constantly talked about by word of mouth. The Energon universe has skyrocketed in popularity. I am not anticipating this new arc to be anything better or worse. I'm anticipating it to just be exactly what it was for the first 24 issues. Tons of fun with characters I love and adore. Cannot wait to see what Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora bring to the table with issue number 25 of Transformers. For the third week of October of 2025, we're going to go back to the Energon universe, and the other book that a lot of people who are reading it are absolutely loving, and that is Josh Williamson's G.I. Joe, issue number 12, the final issue of the second story arc before we head into the 5-part issue Dreadnought War, which is actually going to be a bi-monthly issue release. So we're going to be getting 2 issues of G.I. Joe in October, 2 issues of G.I. Joe in November, and the final issue in December. So I am very excited to see what's going to happen in this brand new story arc, and very curious to see where it's going to leave us with the whole Energon universe. For the fourth week of October of 2025, so I think this may be a first for me, because I could not decide. There were so many amazing books coming out, and there are 4 books. Any one of them could be the best book, and I have no idea which one it's going to be. So I was just like, let me just tell everybody which 4 books they are so they know exactly what I'm dealing with and how excited I am for the 4th week of October. So we have 3 Image books and 1 Dynamite book. So we've got Escape #3 by Rick Remender, of course. We've got another one of the most unbelievably entertaining books in comics this year. It's in my top 3 reads as of now, and that, of course, is James Tynion IV's Exquisite Corpses with issue #6. We've got Space Ghost over at Dynamite Comics by David Pepose and Jonathan Lau with issue #4 of Volume 2. I've been loving the 2nd volume, or season as they call it, and to top it all off, the 2nd issue of Skinbreaker by Robert Kirkman and David Finch. I don't know which one is going to end up on top. Maybe more than one will end up on top. All I know is that it's going to be a big month, and I am so excited for this specific week. And for the final week, the 5th week of October 2025, just in time for Halloween, I could have gone with a whole bunch of different titles because there are some good ones coming out. I mean, we've got the Dick Tracy Halloween special, the final issue of Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween. We also have a couple of other very interesting things happening. We've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles annual, and we even have a Superman Red and Blue 2025 special. So many books to be excited for. So I'm going to play it safe this time because I always say, as great as this book is, I don't want to make it my top pick because I have no idea if something's going to be in it, but every single time it comes out, it ends up either being my top pick or in my honorable mention, so I'm just going to play it safe today. We're going over to Image Comics, and we're going to give the top spot in the last week of October of 2025 to Feral issue #17 by Tony Fleecs and Trish Forstner, because this arc is cray-cray. There have been some unreal twists and turns happening in this story. Twists and turns I didn't expect the story to go in. It's getting very spine-tingly, it's getting very unsettling, it's getting very gruesome. But oh man, am I here for it. So that is going to wrap up my stats, trends, and picks for September of 2025, and of course my predictions for October of 2025. Let me know what some of your favorite reads of September 2025 were. Did I miss anything? I'd love to talk to you about it in the comments. And what are some of the books that you're looking forward to in October of 2025? And I will see you in the next one.